So, maybe you're the kind of person who likes taking notes, but maybe you're also the kind of person who enjoys the advantages of digital technology. There are an increasing number of e-reading devices that try to give you the best of both, but chances are you've heard of one particular e-reader more than others, for good and unfortunate reasons. This is the Inktelligent review of the Remarkable 2. Now, before we get into this review, we should address the unpopular elephant in the room, Remarkable 2's subscription paywall elements. Customers who bought a Remarkable 2 unit after October 12, 2021 have to pay a monthly subscription fee to use some of the device's advanced features. It's important to note that, as of filming, not every feature of the Remarkable 2 is behind that needless paywall, and I personally think you can still get some of the device's best features without a subscription fee. So, to help people keep track, I've designed a badge system where whenever a Connect or free feature is being shown on screen, a different color of badge will be added to the top corner of the screen. So, for example, a feature on the device requiring a Connect level subscription will show a Connect badge on screen. Now that we're clear on that, let's get to the review. Starting with the first element of the Remarkable 2 that invites praise and criticism all at the same time, let's have a look at the packaging the device comes in. Remarkable has gone out of its way to highlight the strong lines and contours of this device and its stylus through stylish embossed outlines on the boxes. Overall, aesthetically speaking, this is quite nice. Here, I'm unboxing the Marker Plus version of the Remarkable 2's stylus, complete with its semi-flexible eraser tip on the back, the device itself, the replacement nibs, a neatly designed nib remover tool, and the device's basic sleeve cover option. The device and stylus look and feel quite nice and are aesthetically pleasing to hold and look at. I was also surprised by how light the device itself felt when I first picked it up. Now, the criticism. The Remarkable 2's packaging is an exercise in the over-presentation of a product. Boxes within boxes, paper sleeves, several paper guides. I had so much unboxing paper that it was honestly getting hard to stack it without it all toppling over. Another thing is the magnetic attachment of the marker stylus to the device itself. It's strong, giving an impressive display of gripping to the device. The bad news, however, is that it's strong, and that such a strong magnet may not interact so well with credit cards or phones, so you may want to keep that in mind. Don't put this anywhere near your phone. The people behind the Remarkable are so confident about their e-reader's writing experience that upon starting up the device, it's one of the first things you're asked to try out. But in perhaps an oversight on the Remarkable team's part, my unit did not allow me to erase yet at this stage, so be careful what you write here. In a refreshing change, the device assumes no previous experience with e-ink devices and even goes out of its way to demonstrate the brief white-to-black flashes which are normal for most e-readers when refreshing the display. The device then goes on to prompt you to connect to a wireless internet signal, but as of the time of filming, you can still skip this stage if you prefer and use the device offline. Kind of. More on that later. Then the device asks you to declare your handedness preference, and finally, gives you a quick on-device tour outlining the different menu locations, types of document, folders, and in-document navigation options. Once you're in your document, you have the options of swiping the screen to page forward or backward through your note or document. But with more recent updates of the device, you also gain several useful extra gesture options. For example, sliding one finger upwards on the screen from the bottom of the device opens up this handy menu bar for scrolling through to see small thumbnail images of the other pages in your current document. This also acts as a quick link to jump you to those pages by letting go of the slider bar when you see the page you want to go to. To see your recently read documents and those you've marked as favorites, simply slide down from the top of the device with 2 fingers. Nicely, this recent document and favorites menu stays open until you touch another area of the screen, giving you ample time to browse through these. Finally, when you're done reading your document or note, you can swipe down from the top of the screen with 1 finger. This will exit you from the current note or document and take you back to the main home screen. So when you're in a note or document, what kind of options do you get? Well, those options are in a menu at the side of the device, which can largely be hidden by tapping on the icon that looks like a circle with a dot inside. First up, you have the Remarkable's advanced selection of brush/pen types to use when marking up your document or note. Most of these options have some level of pressure sensitivity, with the pencil and paintbrush tools being the most impressive in terms of the gradient of pressure sensitivity on offer. Tilt sensitivity to the angle that the pen is tilted when making contact with the screen is another standout feature of the Remarkable 2, and this can allow very naturalistic shading and sketching, and is definitely something the artists using this e-ink device will appreciate. The highlighter tool is also great to have, but it doesn't currently feature the pressure or tilt sensitivity of the other options. Writing on the Remarkable 2 is very good, and it's the closest to actual pen and paper I've seen on an e-ink device so far. The Remarkable 2's eraser option allows for different eraser modes. Tapping the option once converts your stylus from draw to erase mode, and you can choose from 3 different eraser thickness options. Tapping the eraser option again will bring up a way to select between the normal eraser mode, a mode to select an area of the page to erase, or the ability to erase all user-made lines on the page. While these are great eraser options, in my opinion, they do slow things down in real-world use. You have to take the time to convert your stylus from draw to erase mode, and then manually change it back again, so that slows things down. This is why I'm especially glad for the time convenience that the Marker Plus affords in allowing one to simply erase with a quick flip of the stylus and then go straight back to writing on the screen. If I were thinking about actually using the Remarkable 2 as my main note-taking device, I'd probably make sure I was using the Marker Plus stylus, as depending on your note-taking speed, it might mean you'd have a slight speed advantage when taking a moment to correct something you've written. One of the most useful tools you'll find on the Remarkable 2 isn't even a brush type. The selection tool allows many useful interactions with your notes or drawings. Just select the tool and then draw the area you'd like to select. Once selected, you can then cut, copy, paste, rotate, or enlarge your selection as you'd like. And yes, this ability is every bit as cool and useful as it looks on camera. In fact, it's downright addictive once you get used to using it. This opens up so many possible uses for this tool. For example, have a look at this hurriedly written sentence where spacing is not exactly great. Well, with the selection tool, separating these words is no problem. Especially when combined with the Remarkable 2's newly excellent zoom function, the selection tool allows for surprisingly detailed selection and even when selecting areas between extremely narrow gaps, works quite well in most instances I tried. Another great use this option opens up is page-in-page functionality. Imagine you have a page of notes or, in this case, a kind of rubric for how to grade something, and you want to have that information available to you on another page in your notebook for quick reference. Well, impressively, the selection tool lets you copy as much of the page as you can select and paste it on as many other pages as you would like. That's super cool. Below the selection tool are the humble undo and redo arrow keys. This works just like how some word processors allow you to undo and redo things you've typed, except the Remarkable 2 is letting you undo or redo lines or drawings you've recently made. These have proven far more useful than I would have thought, and can remember quite a few steps back, so if you've just accidentally erased part of your masterpiece, there's a good chance you'll be able to recover it. I also found it especially useful in limiting the damage done by the sometimes over-ambitious scope of the Marker Plus's eraser size. Tapping on the little icon shaped like 4 squares brings up a thumbnail overview of the document you're in and displays images of the different pages. Tapping on any of these will jump you to that page in the document, but if you prefer, a list view is also available. Depending upon whether you're reading a document or notebook, you'll be presented with slightly different options in this menu. If you're in a notebook, you'll be given the option to convert your handwritten notes to text, whereas this option is replaced with the table of contents option if you're in a document. Now, the reason that the red Connect badge is joining the green No Plan badge on screen right now is that all of these options, as of the time of filming, are accessible without the Connect subscription, except the Convert to Text and Send by Email options. Remarkable seems to think that this option is special enough to justify a monthly subscription fee. This next tool might already be familiar to you if you use photo editing software. The Remarkable 2 allows one to build up the composition on the page in layers. This means that you can make different lines on different layers and then essentially keep stacking these until you achieve the desired effect. But the amount of layers you have cannot be infinite and is capped currently at 5. The other great thing about the layers function is that it allows you to work on the layer you're on without affecting the layers beneath. So, for example, if you're on a layer and you erase something, the device will only erase what's on the current layer without affecting what is either below or above. Making the feature even more useful, you can configure each layer to display or hide its contents if you don't want to be distracted by the lines on the other layers you've already made. Aside from the template background, each layer can be renamed, moved to different positions within the layers, merged together with the layers below it, or deleted. The Layers tool also unlocks some fairly interesting potential uses. One really cool use is that one can use the Layers tool to create reusable documents. Simply place all information that has to stay the same on one layer, and then create another layer for all further additions or other content that is meant to change later on. Just think of the possibilities this opens up. Marking rubrics, handwritten fillable forms, verb conjugation practice, and that's not even mentioning the horizons this opens up for artists. However, there is one rather huge bug you should be aware of if you're thinking that you would be using this ability a lot. You see, let's say you have a document with 3 layers open. Well, if you exit that document or turn the device off and then come back to that document, you'll be a little confused to discover that you've been put back on layer 1. and without the device giving you any indication of this. I can tell you that when I was testing this device out, my love of the layers function was frequently marred by this gigantic software bug. And all I can say is thank goodness for the undo and redo buttons, as I mentioned earlier. Really, Remarkable should be taken to task for this, and it needs to be fixed yesterday. So, moral of the story, always open the layers menu to check what layer you're actually on before you start drawing. Now, up until this point, at least at the time of filming, almost all of these features have been available by simply purchasing the device and a marker stylus of your choice. However, be warned that the next 3 features are only free for you if you actually purchased your Remarkable 2 device before October 12, 2021. For everyone else, probably most people watching this review, these are Connect subscription exclusive features and will currently cost you a monthly subscription fee to access. A company that decided to change a beloved product with a loyal fan base. I wonder, do the people at Remarkable remember the introduction of New Coke?
Here's a letter from California. I don't think I'd be more upset if you were to burn the flag in our front yard. And a real patriot writes, changing the flavor of Coca-Cola would be like tearing down the White House.
Anyway, back to the review. First up is the screen share function, which is the Remarkable 2's way of allowing a user to mirror the screen on their device on a computer with the Remarkable companion app installed. In concept, it's really cool. But that's sure not how my first interaction with it went. Accept the connection on your desktop screen and then start presenting. Well, that's the problem. None comes up on the desktop screen, but we'll try it one more time. I can hover this over it, nothing is happening at all. I'm not a technically unskilled person. This should be easy, it should just work. On a Windows computer, I was consistently, frustratingly, swear-inducingly unable to get the screen sharing feature to work. And yes, I was using the latest version of the app at the time. And I tried this with the device attached to the computer by its own cable. While connected to the internet and not connected, it made no difference at all. So in summary, I never got screen sharing to work on a Windows computer, and I find it kind of hard to express just how big a failure that is on Remarkable's part. I'll move on to a more positive note. When I tried the same experiment on a Mac computer, the difference was day and night. The screen share function worked right out of the gate, and not only did it worked flawlessly and mirrored my screen in nearly real time. And did all of this 100% through an internet connection. When it actually did work, this function definitely impressed me. It's more instant on the screen than it is on the device. That's impressive. However, I'm sad to report that the device did not allow me to use the screen share function when I wasn't connected to the internet, even on a Mac computer. So see, it does not work offline. I'm not very happy about that, Remarkable. Frankly, that kind of sucks. Oh, one other note. If you've been having trouble getting this function to work on your computers, Remarkable does have a section on their website detailing some possible solutions. But frankly, if they're charging you a monthly subscription for this feature, that feature should just really work without any tampering required. Send by Mail is another Connect subscription service exclusive, but I can't say I really see why. Yes, it works. It allows you to send a document to an email address, and from my tests, that document will come through faithfully rendered. But really, that task can also be accomplished with your computer or cell phone, so I don't really see what's so special about this. From my testing, the Remarkable 2's notes-to-text conversion works quite well. It isn't perfect and it has definitely made some mistakes, but it may just be a bit more accurate than the same function on the Kobo Elipsa, for example. However, there's a definite and big caveat to that statement, because the Kobo Elipsa could do all of its conversion to text on device, didn't need a connection to the internet, and did it for free. Whereas the Remarkable 2 requires an internet connection to do this trick, and it will only let you access this feature if you are paying a monthly Connect level subscription. So again, unless you absolutely feel you need conversion of your notes to text, which frankly I don't think is there yet on almost any device, I really don't think this is a good reason to charge users a monthly fee. The Document Settings menu will show you slightly different options depending on whether you're opening it inside a PDF or a notebook. We'll start with an option common to both documents and notebooks, set to Landscape mode. But unfortunately, it doesn't rotate the whole screen or notebook to Landscape mode like you'd think it would, but rather just rotates the menu bar itself. What can I say, this function is nearly useless in my opinion. Notebook and PDF settings will allow you to rename the PDF or notebook and select whether your last page visited or first page of the document will be displayed as the thumbnail icon for the document on your device. For PDF exclusive options, this menu does contain a search function. But to tell you the truth, I think Remarkable has actually taken a big step backwards with this function. You see, initially, searching for a word would bring up a list, complete with a sentence fragment where the word occurred, and page numbers. But importantly, once you selected the search result you wanted, it would take you to that page, but not highlight where the word was on that page. This could make finding that term on a particular page pretty difficult. However, Remarkable changed this in a later update, and now it's actually kind of worse. With the new search function, once you type in your search term, the device now automatically jumps you to the first page where your search term appears without asking, and will now highlight where the word appears on the page. That's a good improvement, but the big problem is that the device no longer lets you see your separate search results or page numbers. The only way you can progress through them is by tapping the next or previous arrows that show up. And if you have a lot of results to go through, this would be ridiculously tedious. A clear miss here on Remarkable's part. To manually tap through a document 146 times, I think they're a little nuts. This menu also contains the Adjust View function, something I'm not actually a big fan of. This function should be a home run, a slam dunk, but it is implemented so badly that I just tend to ignore it. Selecting this will take you to a view of your current page, and it will essentially allow you to crop the page, but not in a useful way. Honestly, before I figured out why this function was so bad, I felt like the device was actively fighting with me here, pushing the box inwards. Why is it doing the opposite of what I want it to do? You can fight with it and eventually maybe sometimes you get something close, so awful experience of adjusting this stupid box. Now it's working for some weird reason? What? Be deterministic, Remarkable, please. You see, as of filming, the device only allows you to enlarge or shrink a static aspect ratio, meaning you'll only be able to select a certain amount of the text at any time. And if you try to select it all, you'll still be left with more white space on the margins than necessary. This is, frankly, kind of a stupid implementation of a cropping tool. I mean, what's the point if you can only crop within a fixed aspect ratio? Other devices have done this much better. The other terribly implemented feature is that, once cropped, you need to go all the way back into the crop selection page to reset the page view to normal. This is more annoying than I can adequately convey here. Yet another weird glitch in this mode is that if you have adjusted, quote-unquote, the page, you can zoom in, but not out. Why? Now, as I prefer to be an optimist, I'll end on one note that could be a good point. Once you have adjusted the view, the cropping you have applied will stay across the whole document, which, like I say, could be really useful if you could actually crop the document how you'd like. The PDF experience on the Remarkable 2 has improved massively from when it first launched. New features like the now truly excellent pinch to zoom ability and the quick jump navigation bar have really made reading and moving around a PDF much more easy and enjoyable. The weight of the device in one's hands is actually considerably lighter than I would have expected, and it sits quite nicely in one's hands when held aloft. Its weight distribution allows me to pinch and zoom the screen with my thumbs, which is definitely a plus in my opinion. However, there are still a few compromises that give me pause. For a start, the Remarkable 2's menu icon, even when collapsed, remains opaque and blocks any text that might be in that corner of the screen. I mean, didn't it occur to their team to make this menu icon semi-transparent when it's collapsed? And while the excellent stylus interaction the Remarkable 2 is known for is available while reading a PDF, raising the stylus up to the screen while reading with the device held in the other hand is just not easy and basically necessitates putting the whole device down on a table to make annotations. I think it would be great if there were at least some ability to interact with a document with one's fingers, like a finger painting mode, so that at least some lines could be made without the stylus. A good cropping tool is also sorely missed. But ending on a good point, the availability of all those brush and pen types within a PDF document to mark it up does generally make annotation a breeze. Lastly, while the contrast levels on the Remarkable 2 screen are alright, they could be better. Especially for images that show up as gray on white or gray on gray, it can sometimes be hard to tell exactly what you're looking at or discern borders between different subjects in an image. One other kind of weird thing is that the table of contents that the device generates automatically could use some improvement and tweaking. Bold headings, even if they're just quotes, are sometimes treated as major topics in the table, and weirdly, sometimes the actual table of contents page is actually left out. As for large PDF performance, well, it isn't all that bad. Once you get the document on the device, that is. For example, the Remarkable 2 simply would not let me place a 172 megabyte PDF manual on the device via its USB web interface mode, PC or Mac. So, pretty bad. To be clear, that would be the mode where you use a physical cord that came with the device to connect that device directly to your computer. How does this not work in 2022? I was able to transfer that same large PDF to my device when both the computer and the device were connected to the internet. It did, however, take quite a bit of time to do this, about 6.5 minutes. This was considerably faster when both devices were not only connected to the internet, but also linked via the device's USB-A to C cable, about 3 minutes or so in that setup. Once the large PDF is on the device, the Remarkable 2 actually performs quite well. In this speed test comparison with the recent Kobo Elipsa, more often than not, the Remarkable 2 was clearly the faster device for paging through my 58.7 megabyte large PDF test. Where the Remarkable 2 ran into trouble was in how it displayed certain images. The devices previously mentioned contrast issues did mean that certain images seemed to display greater detail in shadow areas on the Kobo Elipsa. Just look at how much better the Kobo Elipsa displays the books in the background in this image, or how much better the bee in the sunflower image looks on the Elipsa compared to the same image on the Remarkable 2. Additionally, the fact that the Remarkable 2 does not sport a front light of any kind does mean that with certain front light settings, you can get far greater detail out of images on the Elipsa, although really both devices are in urgent need of a contrast adjustment tool. The multiple brush and pen types, along with some of the best pressure sensitivity of any e-ink device on the market, make the Remarkable 2 a natural fit with artists. Along with the tools to make those artistic lines, Remarkable has also put considerable amount of thought into templates, and there are a wide variety to choose from, adding considerable value for some if you export your drawing through the companion app for the device or through the send by email function. The Remarkable 2 will give you the option of exporting it in the SVG or Scalable Vector Graphics format. SVG graphics are particularly well liked by some because they scale well and they look good at nearly any size. They also can be edited in certain image editing programs. This opens up the very real and cool possibility that on the Remarkable 2 you could probably sketch your business logo by hand. Additionally, I've already gone over this point in my recent Top 20 Uses for e-readers video, but suffice to say that the Remarkable 2 offers the ability to edit and manipulate images by drawing on them and adding your own embellishments. Some may also be interested to know that Remarkable has also recently launched their Remarkable Rooms side website. The idea being to give creative or studious individuals a place to visit on their computers to provide a low-stress ambience and foster a productive or creative environment while they use their Remarkable device. This may not be for everybody, but I'll give Remarkable credit for an interesting idea here. Notes and annotated documents exported from the Remarkable 2 generally look pretty good. Handwritten notes keep most of their on-screen character, and one can see this even when zooming in. However, there have been a few instances where I've written something while zoomed in, and later, the ink-like nature of the note actually prevents me from reading what it says. It's a bit hard to describe, but occasionally it looks just too much like blobs of ink to discern individual letters. As I mentioned earlier, when exporting via the Remarkable app or the send email function, there is also the choice of several different file types for exporting your notebooks or documents, which is pretty nice. Remarkable does deserve some credit for updating the Remarkable device over time. One of the most useful recent additions has been the tag system. This has added a small tag icon to the various menus on the device, which now allows you to group different document pages, whole documents and notebooks, and even folders by particular concepts or topics. This also allows for bookmarking functionality when reading a document. As an example, let's say you're skimming a PDF for information on 4 different topics. The different areas are labeled on the page, but how do you find these quickly? Well, now you can create a tag to mark a page as being related to a particular topic. This allows you to quickly sort through your document by the tags you've assigned. You can even add multiple tags to further specify what those pages, documents, or folders relate to. One bug that happens on my device is that sometimes I have to leave the document after creating a new tag before going back into the document before the device will actually seem to turn the tag icon dark to show that that page has been tagged already. Another feature which might help those doing research or providing more room for annotations, Remarkable has added the ability to insert a blank note page inside a PDF. This could be useful for a lot of people for helping to keep their notes and resource materials in the same file. Now, I've already mentioned the huge jump in quality that the updated pinch to zoom feature represents, so I'll just say it's very good and extremely useful, especially with the Remarkable's current implementation of its cropping tool, which is to say, kind of close to terrible. The pinch to zoom feature really does help. Remarkable has also added new colors to both the highlighter tool and to most of the pen/brush types. And while these just display as different shades of gray on screen, when you export them, they show up as their full named color. If you're a researcher or a student, you'll probably see the extra benefit of being able to assign more colors to different topics. Sadly, my experience with the Remarkable 2 in terms of putting files on the device or getting them off has been pretty terrible from day one. Yes, I did get the desktop app for the device to function mostly properly on both a Windows and Mac computer. I was technically able to get files onto the device and take them off. But in my experience, the only time I was able to use the device's app to do this and have it work was when both my computer and the device were connected to the internet. Yes, there's the offline file transfer mode on the Remarkable 2, where you change a setting on the device, plug it into a computer, open an internet browser, and enter a special URL address to have limited access to either dropping files onto the device or downloading the files from the device. But as I said before, this is limited. For one thing, if you remember what I said earlier about my trouble getting that 170 megabyte PDF file onto the device for the large PDF test, you'll remember that with this mode there seems to be some kind of a file size limit. One other thing with this mode is that you're limited to downloading PDF versions of your documents and cannot currently access the SVG or PNG versions that can only be exported through the desktop app or through the send by email function, which we shouldn't forget is a Connect exclusive feature, and you have to pay for that. Now, importantly, your experience with the device may vary, and I should acknowledge the what seems to me is very unlikely possibility that my device is just a bit of a lemon. However, I have heard of other people having connectivity issues with this device. And at this point, so long after the device's initial launch date, and after unceremoniously forcing new customers to pay for what was essentially free for all before, none of this should be an issue. Period. If, however, my inability to connect my desktop app on my computer to my device offline is a common problem, my opinion is that this goes beyond mere incompetence or software bug issues. In my opinion, that kind of relentless string of errors or design choices starts to look almost intentional, and I think we, as consumers, should be asking why that might be. When I think about it, almost every electronic device with some kind of method of storing pictures or documents, including almost any other e-reading device, has always allowed me to either plug in a cord that came with the device, or in the case of a camera, a memory card, to easily transfer files on and off the device whether or not I am connected to the internet. So what makes you different, Remarkable? Why are we supposed to believe that you are somehow exempt from this consumer expectation? What, that it's just software bugs that, on both a PC and a Mac, used months apart, seem to force the user to constantly be connected to the internet and your servers to access the full functionality of the device? Well, seeing that it's more than 2 years after this device launched, and that Remarkable was recently valued at about $1 billion, I'm afraid I just don't buy that excuse. These software bugs occur at a very basic interaction level with the device, and I would suspect could be spotted within just a few minutes of product testing on the company's part. So I have to ask the question, why do these easily spotted bugs persist? Are they, in fact, software bugs at all? The questions that might follow could be, is this intentional? Is Remarkable trying to force users to use their cloud service? If they are, to what end? For what purpose? In my opinion, based on my experiences using this device, I think those are all valid questions to be asked. The Remarkable 2 is definitely an impressive e-ink device, and it earns a good deal of the praise it frequently gets. It's a sketchbook, a notebook, an e-reader for certain document formats, and an increasingly good tool for academics. And the device also allows for considerable degrees of organization via the ability to copy, paste, move, and even tag documents and folders. Many of the early faults of the e-reading experience have been patched over, and features like the excellent pinch-to-zoom function make using the device easier and more enjoyable than ever. Writing on the Remarkable 2 is the most natural writing experience I've had on an e-reader, and it's the only ink device I've ever actually wanted to use to take down notes. The Remarkable 2 is something truly special among e-readers, and elements of it can compete or even outshine the very best e-ink competitors. A crowning achievement. However, to my mind, the Remarkable 2 is also, equally, a product that now hides some of its advanced features behind a paywall, functionally discourages offline use of the device, at least if you want to unlock its full potential, and provides software that is still buggy and finicky over 2 years after the device was launched. It's also a device that, while improved in its e-reading features, has a long way to go before it can take on competitors like the Onyx Books devices or those from Pocketbook in that arena. Very broadly speaking, I would generally say that the hardware itself is outstanding, but the software experience, so critical to really integrating the device into one's workflow, is still lacking some basic polish and needs to be re-examined urgently. In my opinion, Remarkable also feels like a company that just isn't quite telling us everything we should know. So this feature is still experimental? Since the first Remarkable device in 2017? Almost every other device can do this out of the box. When it comes to these elements, Remarkable seems to be asleep at the wheel. In this sense, an epic failure. It's a complicated device to categorize, and if the people at Remarkable want that to change anytime in the near future, they've got quite a lot of listening to do. So, Remarkable, if you're listening, Number 1. Ditch your subscription service. Do what the Coca-Cola Company did in the 1980s and admit you were wrong.
Well, what we want them to know is it's mutual. We want them to know that we're really sorry.
Number 2. I'll say this slowly. Test your device in your own offices. If you already did, test it again. Find the obvious bugs that make the desktop versions of the Remarkable app able to be nearly completely useless offline. Prove you care. Fix this, please. Number 3. Unfortunately, Remarkable isn't alone in this, but that device does need a contrast adjustment option. Build one. Number 4. Consider a redesign of the in-document menu. When collapsed, it has a tendency to be an eyesore if it's floating over text you're trying to read. That should be obvious. Consider making the circle glyph semi-transparent to help with this. Number 5. Fix the PDF adjustment tool so that one can crop their documents how they would actually like to. Consider also adding support for different view modes for multiple column format PDF documents. Oh, and make the View Reset button accessible from the main in-document menu. Going into that submenu all the time just really bites. Number 6. A quick design suggestion for the Remarkable 3. Consider the idea of building a separate, small e-ink screen into the side bezel of the device to free up room on the main e-ink screen. When the main in-document menu is open, it currently takes up a fair bit of room. Number 7. This one's recent and it's kind of a big deal. Following my Remarkable 2's update to the software version 2.14, there's a new bug, where if I make a note on a PDF and then turn the device off before exiting that document, the notes I made will disappear when I turn the device back on and go back into that document. Looks like the Remarkable has caught a case of Kobo Elipsa-itis. I would suggest that this one should be high on your to-fix list, Remarkable. Thanks for making an Inktelligent choice. Like this video and subscribe to encourage more Inktelligent videos like this one.